to tell my story of life and loss. So it was November 15th, 2016, and I found out I was expecting my first child. My husband and I had been trying for a short period, so it was kind of unexpected. We weren't sure how long it was going to take, but it was very unexpected. So I had kind of had a funny feeling that my period might be a little late. I had been tracking it, and it was a couple days late. So I decided to take a test. It was 4:30 in the morning, and my husband was getting ready to go to work. So I immediately ran into the room where he was getting changed, and I didn't even have any words. I just took the test and showed it to him. And of course, we both started crying, and I was like kind of freaking out because it was my first pregnancy. I wasn't sure what to do. So I knew better than to tell anyone. I didn't want to tell anyone. So that day that I found out, I was just being extra cautious with everything I did. And I caught myself trying to eat healthy that day. So I went to Subway and I got like a kids meal, which if you're pregnant, you're not really supposed to have deli meat, but at the time I didn't know it. I just wanted to be healthy, so I ate Subway that day. So fast forward to my first appointment. It was about 5 weeks. I actually went to my primary care physician to get a confirmation of pregnancy, basically for them to tell me the same thing that the home pregnancy test told me. And then they referred me to an OB. So I went to my OB appointment, and they pretty much just took my vitals, and they also did a confirmation of pregnancy. Now, when they took my vitals, my blood pressure was, I guess, high, so they wanted to take it again just to see if it was a recurring thing or if it was a one-time thing. So they took it again, and it was high again. But, they assured me that everything would be fine. So I went home and, continued doing what I did. The next week, which is about week 6, I had noticed a little bit of spotting. And I didn't really want to tell anyone about that, just in case, something did go wrong. I was looking on the internet to see what other message boards were saying. And some people said it was normal. Some people said it was an issue. So I decided to kind of be as proactive as I could. So I went to the OB, and they did an ultrasound. So I did it at 6 weeks, and thankfully everything was fine. We heard the heartbeat. We got to see the baby moving and everything. So my next few appointments were pretty standard. I was going once a month. They were taking my vitals, taking blood, same old, same old. And we got to our 20-week ultrasound, and that's the anatomy scan, so we found out what the gender of the baby was going to be. And it was a boy. We saw all the boy parts, and we saw everything. So we found out it was a boy, and we were both really excited because we didn't have a preference whether it was a girl or a boy. We were just happy. We just wanted them to be healthy. So that was 20 weeks. And we had a name picked out. We had a girl name and a boy name just in case. So I had, let me backtrack a little bit. At 12 weeks, once I got out of the first trimester, I had made an announcement on Facebook and told my family and friends that we were expecting. And in the meantime, I had people voting leading up to the 20-week appointment. I had people voting on what they thought the gender would be. So we announced that we were having a boy, and everyone was really excited for us. And then, things were still normal. Everything was fine. So fast forward to 22 weeks, which was a Saturday. It was a normal Saturday. Everything was fine. We just went out just for a walk. We went around the shopping center, just, casually walking, strolling. And we had dinner. Same old, same old. I didn't have any pain or any funny feelings. I was still feeling him move, and everything was normal. So the next day, which was a Sunday, it was March 19th, 2017, I was waking up. We were actually going to get ready to go to church. Woke up, everything was fine. I felt him kicking. I was rubbing my belly and talking to him, as I usually did every morning. And then I kind of felt a sensation down there. I kind of thought it was like, discharge or regular feminine things, and I just, touched, and I looked at my hand, and it was actually blood. So my husband was actually supposed to be at work at that time, because he was working weekends at that time. He was supposed to be at work, but something happened where he had a situation, so he was off that weekend. And so he was downstairs, and I, screamed and told him to come upstairs and told him I was bleeding. So he called the doctor because I didn't have any words, and it was, it was more than spotting. It was, I guess, a medium flow. So he called the doctor. The doctor said as long as I'm not feeling any pain, I should be fine. I wasn't feeling any pain, so everything was fine, I thought. But I immediately had him call my parents, and my parents, they're right down the street, so they rushed over, and they just told me to go to the hospital. So, of course, we went to the closest hospital, and I was in the ER, and they asked, what the situation was. I told them I was 22 weeks in one day, and I was bleeding. They wanted me to go to the bathroom and check to see if I was still bleeding, if I had any pain. I was still bleeding. Did not have any pain, so they were waiting for a wheelchair to wheel me up to labor and delivery so they could check me out. While I was in the ER in that time, I was apparently having contractions. I didn't know I was going into labor, but I was. I felt pressure in my uterus. I guess I felt my uterus contracting, and I was having contractions 3 minutes apart by the time the nurse came. So I went up to triage. They took my information, and they did an ultrasound. I think they did 2 different ultrasounds. Everything was fine. Baby was still moving. Blood pressure was fine. Everything was fine. And I was still feeling the pressure, still having the contractions, and they kind of said it was an emergency and that I would have to deliver that day. I was unprepared. I was only 22 weeks in one day, so I didn't have any classes. I didn't really know how to breathe, how to push, or anything, but it was instinctual. So it just happened so fast. In the blink of an eye, I had delivered, and he was stillborn. His name is Emmanuel Marcel, and he was 1 pound and 0.4 ounces. He was 10 3/4 inches long. So he was going to be tall. But, so that was my first experience with loss. My second one, 6 weeks later, I guess it was 6 or 8 weeks later, we found out again that we were expecting. So we went through the same thing, went back to the OB. They confirmed that we were expecting. So everything was fine. I was trying to be extra cautious for that one as well. And we had a trip to Georgia. That was my 8th week of pregnancy. The doctor said everything was fine, that I could travel. Everything was fine. The trip went well. I didn't have any pain. No, nothing was happening down there. I wasn't uncomfortable. Everything was fine. So I went. It was it was actually 9 weeks for my ultrasound appointment, and we, of course, went in, and the tech was kind of fumbling around with the equipment, trying to find the sac and trying to find the baby, trying to find a heartbeat, and there was nothing there. So I was told that the sac was measuring at 6 weeks and that there was no baby. So I'm assuming the baby had already kind of started, the miscarriage started to drop. So I was given the option to take pills to kind of speed up the miscarriage that was, it was going to come, or I could just do a DNC, or I could also let the miscarriage happen naturally. So I was trying to wait for it to happen naturally. That was on Monday. That appointment, was on a Monday. I took a couple days off work. I went back to work on Thursday, and the miscarriage had not happened in that time. So when I went back to work, it was kind of hard for me to focus because I was just expecting everything to pour out while I was at work. So I ended up going home and just kind of basically having to take the pills, and that was was probably the worst experience I've ever had. It was much worse than actually delivering. So after taking the pills, it was like 3 different courses that I had to take, and I had to go back to the OB following that and get my HCG levels tested, just to make sure that everything was out of my system, that I wasn't still showing up as pregnant blood-wise. And my HCG levels were very high. So I went, I think every week or so, they were still high. I had to keep going back. And so eventually they said that it had dissipated and that my body had finally, I guess, flushed everything out. So yeah, I was heartbroken, especially after the first loss. To have a second one just a couple months behind was it didn't help with the healing process at all, having to now heal from 2 losses back to back. But it's taught me a lot about myself and just motherhood in general. It's taught me a lot about strength. Looking at other women who may or may not have had a loss, you don't know what someone's been through. You see the end result, you see the child now, but you don't know what people have been through. So I guess my story, I'm going to use this as a testament to when I do have my rainbow baby, to, just not shy away from the loss and the bad times, because that is a part of my life. That's something that, I can't be silent about. That's my life. That's part of my process. That's how I'm getting to my rainbow baby. So, yeah, hope you guys enjoyed my story. Feel free to ask questions or leave comments. Thank you for listening.
Hey guys! Thanks for watching our video.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Follow us on all our social media. The links are down below in the description box.